Alright, Maxwell finally made a tier list for Wuthering Waves. So I guess he will be playing the game after all. Oh, um, honestly, I think this is just gonna trash my character Jiangxing and like tell me she's very dog shit. Cause all her skills are so slow. I don't know how I would actually play if she doesn't like get a rework before the drop. I'm hoping that that is a rework because I heard there was, but I never really go and check it, like what the reward might entail.
With Wuthering Waves just around the corner, I wanted to bring you guys a new and updated tier list that goes over the strength of every Wuthering Waves character that we know as of right now. The roster at the moment is quite small, so we'll probably see some changes as new characters get added with newer synergies, but for now, here is my definitive launch tier list for Wuthering Waves. We'll make sure to update these as time goes on.
Okay, so it's not actually confirmed because I think that it will still be a reward for Jiangxing, High Copium, but yeah, I have no idea who some of these people are, but I am hoping that the 4 stars are decent enough for me to use, just in case my Jiangxing sucks. I know Rover is not bad though.
There's new characters, new synergies, new content, and things added. With all that being said, my name is Braxophone. Let's get started. So the first character we'll start with is the Rover. Now we're going to talk about the Spectral Rover. Havoc Rover we don't have information on yet because the game is not officially out. This is one day before the game releases, and I don't want Kuro to come for me by talking about leaks.
Oh, so our Rover is actually starting as like one of the special quote-unquote elements. That's good. So I think she will be like type neutral to most things, right?
But I can say for Spectral Rover is actually very strong in their own little niche like subsection of the game. Spectral Rover on their outro skill has a time stop ability. This basically means that you get about 3 seconds to just wail on the enemy, do whatever you want, whether that's a active echo that does a lot of damage, or if you're just struggling because the boss moves around too much, this is really helpful.
That's really good for this kind of games, like just a 3-second like smash whatever buttons you can game
for you. But on top of that, at higher sequence nodes, at sequence node 4, I believe, they get a healing ability that scales off of their attack for the whole party. This means by playing Spectral Rover, you can dish out some solid damage, but you can also have a healer on your team. Now, the healing from this character is not actually insane. They're not going to be a top tier healer or anything like that. But the whole thing is, if you are not taking a lot of damage to begin with, then you can add someone that does a little bit more damage in your 3rd slot, which is really nice. And the time stop, like I said, is a small DPS one.
Just become Jotaro. Time stop.
No. Overall, I actually think Spectral Rover is probably an A tier or very high B tier. I'm gonna go ahead and put them in A though. For reference, if you're wondering why this list is so short, by the way, there's not a lot of characters, and the discrepancy between the characters' value is not super big right now at the start of the game. So with that said as well, if I were to put like G-Ed in A tier or something, the order doesn't actually matter. I'm actually gonna put G-Ed though, this guy, in S tier. The reason is because his damage is really, just really insane.
And he looks so cool, especially when after he ults and like he gets that dragon companion that fights alongside him. Like, holy.
It's definitely one of the best damage dealers in the entire game, and he has AoE with his ultimate. Whenever you use his Resonance Liberation, he's basically going to be able to like sweep up enemies, carry them around, and also deal a ton of AoE. It also makes parrying very easy because he has so many hits going off and basically the circle around him that even if you miss time parrying, you're probably still gonna parry everything that comes your way. His outro and intro skill both just add a ton of damage, and this guy is just a raw arrow damage dealer, and he's really great at it, so he's gonna be our first test here. How Chi, I was really hoping that she would be like a top tier unit just because I really like her design. And she definitely has a pretty cool kit that revolves around timed parries and blocks, but in actuality and in usage, she does tend to...
Is she like the Beidou of Wuthering Waves? Cause like I had a lot of fun with Beidou last time in Genshin where like you like time the block and then she just do a fuck ton of damage. It was crazy.
Fall a little bit short of other damage dealers, and she tends to fall short of other supports. She does have a whole shield portion of her kit, but shielding in this game is not always necessary. It depends on the skill level of the player. So like if you maybe do take a lot of damage because you're not as good at like dodging or parrying, then her value might actually go up a little bit. And that's how most shield characters in this game are going to be. However, her outro skill doesn't add a ton of value. It adds 38% skill deep deepen effect, which is just another multiplier. It's 1.38 times the damage that you would be doing with skills. But right now, because of how the game works, there's not a ton of characters that just get a ton of damage from their skills specifically and nothing else. And so she does kind of struggle to find like a super strong niche. However, she's definitely not terrible. I actually took F tier out because I don't even know if I would put any characters in the game in F tier because none of them stand out as like objectively the worst. So I'm gonna go ahead and
So all characters are usable. That's a very good thing. You're not just gonna have a Arlen.
put her in C tier. Let's grab Alto. Alto has one of my favorite designs in this game. I mean,
Apparently a lot of people hated this character, but I never knew why. He seemed pretty cool in my opinion.
he's so cocky in like such a stupid way. I don't know. I really like him a lot, but when it comes to damage and when it comes to supporting capabilities, there's not really a ton of support ability there. There's just there's the arrow damage bonus on Outro, which is nice. Sorry, not arrow damage bonus, arrow damage deepen, which is nice for arrow characters. For example, if you're playing with Jihad, like, yeah, you could get a little bit of extra stuff there. But honestly, this ability is so specific that he gets outclassed by like support units as far as Outro skills go, and his damage without sequence nodes is not going to be that insane. I would say without sequence nodes, he's probably in the B tier, and with, he's debatably A tier, but it's still kind of up in the air. He just gets outshined by a lot of other characters. So I'm gonna put Alto in B tier. Definitely not bad, but like there's better options. And now we have Nahida at home. Actually, what's really funny about this character, Verena, is that she's just so incredibly busted. She's a healer that does spectro damage, and when you use her Resonance Liberation, she actually gets coordinated spectro attacks with your on-field character that are also healing. On top of that, her outro skill lasts for 30 seconds, which means that you can get everyone the bonus in your full rotation. And on top of that, it's actually a very unique ability because she gives a portion of her attack, 19% of her attack stat, plus on top of that, deepen effect for all elements. So all elements at once, any character can be played with Verena as long as they don't scale on like specifically HP or defense or something. They're benefiting from her outro skill a massive amount, and your entire team is. And on top,
I don't care how good she is. She's a fucking child. I wanna look like a badass when killing shit. Like, why did they make her good? Why did they make her good? Oh my god. I don't want her. Fuck you. And you're a healer. Just parry and dodge. Get better.
top of that, she heals and doing spectral coordinated attacks. Honestly, she's too good. Yeah, because of all of that, I'm gonna put her in balanced, by the way. All right, next up is the Lion Boy himself. Oh, this one's not gonna make a lot of people happy. As far as design goes, I feel like he's A tier. In terms of how good he actually is, I'm sorry, Lion Boy mates. Yeah, I don't really know.
It's bad, really? I thought Ariel would be cool as fuck and like do a lot.
What to say about this dude other than he just does ice damage, but there's other characters that also deal glacio damage that do, in my opinion, a better job and have more team value overall. And yeah, probably one of the biggest reasons his damage is not super insane is because it takes so long to ramp up, but you only have a certain amount of field time per character if you're trying to do like normal rotations. I hope he does get a few changes because he could really use just like a faster sort of ramp up to completely filling his gauge and then getting his damage out. Making
maybe like give him a, since I think his like special thing is that he's like brings the enemy to aerial and then he can do a crap ton of shit in the aerial. At least from what I saw from the trailers, it looked that way. I think they could maybe do something about that, like the more air time he has in his aerial combo, the more damage he does. It'll be rewarding for like players that master the combos and shit, you know.
So he doesn't have to take up as much field time just to be able to get damage on par with other characters would be a really good start. But yeah, overall, I mean, his design is great. I just don't think he's like a super top tier unit. So I would probably put him in C tier. Might be B tier damage wise, but I'm going to put him down here. Let's talk about Mortefi. Yeah, so this guy is Xiangling or Xingqiu. Actually, he's technically like more like Xingqiu, but he's fusion damage, which is like the fire damage equivalent. So I actually think this guy is one of the best characters in the entire game. Very easy to use. His skill has a lot of bursty damage on it. Like you just use a skill and it's like a quick hit of really high damage. And when you use his Resonance Liberation, he gets coordinated fusion damage attacks. This adds up to be a lot of damage over time. And on top of that, his coordinated damage attacks, they do 1 hit per basic and 2 hits for heavy. And he gains heavy deepen. It's 38% heavy damage deepen. So the next character that comes in, let's say it's Jian, for example, he can use heavy attacks and do a lot of damage with them. And so you can actually get more damage from Mortefi from using him with Jian regen in specific characters, but he
So it just enhances heavy attacks only?
is a very valuable character. In my opinion, one of the stronger characters in this game. I'm gonna go ahead and put him up in A tier because I don't think he's on par with some of the other units we're gonna put in S, but he's definitely one of the better characters. Next up is Yinlin. Now, I actually don't know her full release kit yet. They still have time to make changes, so I only know based off of what I played in CBT2. Yeah, honestly, she just does a lot of electro damage, and then she also gives electro damage deepen and resonance liberation.
That's amazing because of how good she looks, and then she's also she's also a very good character. But the problem is, since I'm not aiming for Calchero, I need another Electro 4-star DPS or something else to like play with her, which sucks because I don't think there's any electric 4-star yet.
Deepen when you swap off of her. So if she's your first damage dealer and you swap to another damage dealer like Calcharo or something, they get buffed.
Wait, I'll just make a team where there's no synergy. They just look good.
Indirectly by her. And overall, she's just a very powerful character in terms of her damage output and in terms of the support that she provides. I do think that right now, she could debatably be put in A tier just because we don't have more than one lightning damage dealer that's going to be like pretty significant. However, she does her job so well that I'm still inclined to put her in S tier, especially with the roster as small as it is. So I'm gonna put her up in S tier. Leave it to the two limited 5-star characters to be up in S tier. Don't worry, I'll put another one up in S tier right now. I actually think that Dungeon, the 4-star DPS character, the Havoc damage dealer, is absolutely insane.
Really? I thought she got nerfed after they realized she was too strong.
Stupidly broken. I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. She can solo almost every boss in the entire game. I mean, most characters can, right? But she makes it very easy. The fact that she has full uptime basically all the time. She can always be played on field. There's never a time where it feels like, okay, it's time to switch off Dungeon. She just wants all of the field time in the game. She does a ridiculous amount of damage. I don't know what they were thinking when they were cooking with her multipliers because she is so strong. The only downside is that she is a bit risky to play because she loses HP, but she can also gain her HP back. So if you're a really high skill player, if you're not taking a lot of hits and you're doing a lot of like parrying and stuff, Dungeon ends up being one of the strongest characters in the entire game.
Wait, does Rovers... wait, no, fuck, it's the stupid Farina bitch. Oh my god. But I won't die to the HP drain, right? It's just when I'm too low and the next HP drain will like kill me. It won't drain me and kill me, right? I'll just stay at 1 HP and not get the buff, right?
In terms of both general damage output and just clearing like all of the content. Now the downs,
if you still get the buff but you stay at 1 HP, that would be amazing. Like I can see people doing like 1 HP what's the name, Tauchi clears, like just to show how good they are.
Side to Dungeon, like I said, is if you're not a super high skill player, she ends up becoming like A or B tier just because she is really like risky to play. And if you're playing a character that gets low HP all the time and you take a lot of damage, then that's a problem, right? But for high skill players, Dungeon, one of the best characters in the entire game. And she's a 4-star character too. So keep that in mind, guys. If you get Dungeon as a 4-star and you invest into her, she is absolutely insane. Jitchin is probably one of the most controversial characters in the entirety of Wuthering. And she has 2 big reasons why. Well, I guess 3. The third is that she honestly just isn't that useful in the game as is right now. Her damage isn't anything to write home about. It's not bad, but it's certainly not something that like stands out as like insanely high damage. But her support capabilities also aren't like super useful either. I will say that there's something to be said for sure about having AoE grouping, and especially on her Resonance Liberation, being able to instantly AoE group a bunch of people is really nice, especially in Overworld.
You look at the gameplay, right? It doesn't feel like there's power. I mean, I feel maybe it's about like the tranquility and decisive strikes, but it feels like there's no power in her blows sometimes. Like,
you have lots of smaller mobs, and for high level content that's like many enemies, she can be very good. Her AoE damage can also be pretty solid, but the downside is that like a lot of the content in this game is not AoE content where you can group small mobs. A lot of the higher end Tower of Adversity might have 1 or 2 small.
If you can still like do something like a Venti Tornado where it like stuns and stuff, that would be still good, but I don't really see them giving characters the abilities to stun a boss entirely.
Enemies and one big enemy that the
be
grouping
super
isn't really super useful for, and the AoE damage is only really useful against, you know, AoE multiple targets. And on top of that, she has a shield, but as I've kind of always talked about, shielding in this game isn't super useful as of right now. At least with the enemies we have in the game, shielding isn't like something that you super need, because if you can just dodge, then shielding isn't necessary. And dodging and parrying is a major part of this game and the skill ceiling for this game. So I'm gonna put her in B tier, and I guess I'll see you guys on Reddit. I have a feeling that some people are gonna get mad because there's like a bottom tier down here, so I'm just adding an F tier that nobody's gonna be in yet. And I'll probably also get people mad at me for not putting anyone in F tier, but look, I'm gonna be honest, everyone's like pretty decent. There hasn't been like an objectively worse.
I feel people shouldn't be mad at that. I feel if every character is like usable and you can use them to clear the content, everyone should be happy about that. So like you fucking get like a shitty 4-star like Arlen for some reason in HSR, right? Like it's useless. No one's gonna build him. But at least you can build them in this game and still make them work.
Character in the game yet, at least from what I've tested. So let's talk about Calcharo. I thought his name was better as Kakarot. I thought that was sick. It is what it is. Calcharo is actually a lot better than I gave him credit for a long time ago. He's not actually that complicated to play, and he did get a few changes from the closed beta test to release, and because of that, he ends up being like a pretty strong character. He's the best pairing at the moment for Yinlin, and his damage output is really solid. So I'm gonna put him in A tier for now. Yeah, he's just up there. He's just really good. I mean, that is what it is. And another standard 5-star that is pretty dang good is actually Encore. Now, Encore is a fusion DPS, but she slaps. When I played her in CBT2, she was absolutely incredible. And even on release, with all of the changes that were made to other characters and combat and stuff, she still is one of the better characters in the game. She is a very, very powerful fusion DPS, and she combos well with Mortifi. And of course, she can be used with like many of the other supports in the game. Verena can be used with anyone, so I don't really count her, but with Mortifi, she is very good. And in general, Encore is just a very strong character, just high damage. She's also one of the characters like Yinlin and like Calcharo where you could swap off during their heavy channeling, and that means that the bomb that she sets off, you don't actually lose any uptime on that because you can just activate it.
She has bomb. Is she the Klee of the Wuthering Waves? Oh, what am I? Wuthering Waves, making Genshin better.
and then just blow up and do tons of damage. Good character. Let's talk about Yang Egg. Now, she was actually one of my favorite character designs. I mean, she is like literally the poster girl of Wuthering Waves, so it makes sense. But I think she's very pretty. And she's an arrow damage dealer. She's very fun. Whenever you get her Forte Circuit activated, she does like a really cool like series of attacks that's like in the air, knocks enemies up if they're small. And her ultimate also sort of has grouping, which is really nice. The downside is that even though she does have an ultimate that groups and she doesn't have to sit there and channel it like other characters, it is only super helpful during like small trash mob fights, and the pull on it is not super insane.
Fuck you, I'll just use both of them. I group them with my Jiangxing's ult, then I group them again.
And the AoE on it isn't super crazy.
Who am I gonna group in a single target force fight? Fuck knows.
Crazy. And overall, her damage is decent, but she is meant to be more of a supporting character. Now, she does have one super unique ability, though, and it's her outro. Her outro gives you 20 energy over 5 seconds. And for certain characters, that could make or break their rotation, which is really, really solid. But right now, we haven't found any characters that super need that. Getting energy hasn't really been a problem for many, many characters in this game. And because rotations are so long, it's not usually an issue. I'm going to put her in B tier. She's like a pretty good character, but she definitely isn't going to be like a top dog like S tier or A tier. This may change in the future though. I definitely think energy is an interesting system to play around with. I'm just hesitant to put her up here with the rest of these guys because these guys all offer something that's like absolutely insane. Whereas right now the energy just doesn't really feel super necessary.
I like how, right, other than Inling up there in S tier, right, the like characters that I like, Jiangxing and Yang Yang is all in B tier.
So middle of the pack, man. For sure. Let's talk about Chichia. Honestly, Chichia, she's fine. She's decent. She's a fusion damage dealer, but the problem is we already have a character that's a fusion damage dealer that's like really insane, and then we already have a sub DPS that's really insane. And this is a standard 5-star. Now, obviously, Chichia is going to be free, so you can build her if you want, but if you do eventually get Encore, who I would argue is one of the better pull targets for the 5-star selection banner, she becomes less relevant. She does at S6, though, give your team basic attack damage bonus, so that's pretty good, but right now, I can't really find find a place to fit her into a team where she would be a top tier unit. You could fit her with Morphe and then like maybe Verena of Morphe, but it's just the problem like Encore is always gonna be better. So I'm gonna go and put her in B tier as well. Last three, let's talk about Yonwoo. So this guy, Discord mod here. I like him a lot more after hearing his JP voice. I think he's kind of cool. So Yonwoo basically, I guess he's more like Fischl then. Basically just does electro damage over time, kind of like as you do attacks on your other characters. He also is a shielder, and that's one of the reasons why I don't feel like he's like a top unit is because, like I said, shielding is like not super useful. This is with his sequence node specifically, he gets the shield. I should specify that because I don't want anyone to be like, he's not a shielder. That's true. Not until he has sequence nodes. But his damage is actually pretty significant. The amount of damage that he adds to the fight.
Okay, so that means if I do get Yinling, maybe I can use him.
Is really good. And overall, he's one of the few sub DPS characters we have in this game. Sub DPS are actually very important to this game because it's like you have very long rotations. So if you're going to stick with long rotations, that means that you are going to need characters to do damage sort of while they're not on the field. If you want to actually make use of everyone on your team. So I would put him up in A tier for now. Next up, let's talk about Sanhua. So she is a Glacio damage dealer and she's going to be free with the daily login, which is super nice. And the nice thing about her being free is that she's actually a top tier damage unit. Definitely not S tier, probably A tier. I would say the only reason she's not up there with Dungeon is because Dungeon provides something which is basically self-sustain and the ability to take on content literally by herself with no issues. Whereas Sanhua still, you know, wants to play with support stuff, but she is a very powerful unit. The only time that Sanhua falls off is if the enemy is moving around a bunch, because that means you can't get your detonates off or you have to save them, which ends up losing you a lot of damage overall. But her damage with detonates...
So she needs crowd control, you say. Alright. 三花江星and Yang Yang. Gonna fucking die with doing day one, man.
Is very significant, and she has basic attack damage deepen, which a lot of characters can actually use. So she would be like maybe the first character in your lineup. And then on top of that, if you do get her sequence node 6, she can give your entire team an attack bonus, which attack bonuses aren't super common in this game. So I'm gonna go and put her in A tier as well. And lastly, we have Baichi. The whole thing with Baichi is that she is basically budget Verena. And by budget Verena, I mean free Verena. She's very strong. Not only are her heals pretty crazy, but she has a passive attack bonus she can give to your team pretty easily. It's called Euphonia. She gets it at a higher level. And once it's unlocked, she's able to give your whole team an attack bonus, which is, like I said, it's a rare bonus in this game. And on top of that, her outro skill has all type deepen, which is similar to Verena, because Verena also has that. It makes Verena one of the best supports in the entire game. And Baichi has passive healing on your active character, so she doesn't actually have to be out on the field for you to be getting heals. And for most players, I would say like the average player, casual player, she's gonna end up being an S tier character just because she's able to provide so much. It's healing, it's attack, it's deepen, and also she's like S tier aesthetics. And so that's why we're putting her S tier, because of all those things, and definitely not because I'm biased. Anyways, this is my Wuthering Waves launch tier list of who I think is like actually very good and who's actually worth investing in.
Okay, that's actually a very good... Oh, I like looking at this. Okay, so for my 5 stars, I'm just hoping, like, when I'm getting, right, for the novice banner, or the starting one, where you can get a free 5-star early, I'm fine with Calcharo and Encore. I'm still gonna aim for Jiangxing, because I have Copium for a rework. And if I do get someone like Verena, I just hope I get like fuck, what's her name? Tao Qi. Yeah, I'm just gonna try and get her, use her to solo all content and forget about Verena. I swear, she's the one character I would never ever want on my account. She's gonna sit in the corner of my account and I'm never ever gonna use her, man. I just don't like her at all. I'm sorry. But yeah, okay, nice tier list. I
do have a video coming out called the best 4 stars, so that way you guys get more details on what every 4-star does and which ones are the best. And I'm gonna have a video coming out on the 5-star selection banner, so you guys can understand fully which characters are gonna be the best for you to pull for. I hope this...
Is that gonna release in time? It's like, I would say it's gonna be... I mean, okay, from the time I'm reacting to this, it's like about maybe 11, fuck knows how many hours left till Wuthering Waves first drop. But yeah, maybe tell me what you guys are pulling for in the comments, and if it's Verena, you can get the fuck out now. Alright, thanks, Brex. Great video.
This helps you decide who you kind of want to build. But honestly, the most important thing
there's
is that you
anything
just
else to
have
say.
fun with Wuthering Waves.
Yeah, I just a tier list. Just play who you like. It's fine. None of them are in F tier. All of them is practically usable. Alright, thanks.